Hey everybody, it's TJ here. Welcome to another episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown, the show where we count down the days to the release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo Switch on December 7th. You probably noticed we are in the final countdown. There is less than a month before we can get our eager little hands on this game. My mission is to make that time go by a little bit faster and help build up the excitement by breaking down all the updates on the Super Smash Bros. Blog on SmashBrothers.com. We're gonna talk characters, stages, items, music, and there were some other interesting Smash-related bits of news that broke this week, so you can bet we'll talk about that too. Now, there's also the part of the show where I give my thoughts about all the related topics, but that's only half the story. The best part of the show is you. So if you have an opinion about anything we covered today, don't be shy about it. You can drop those thoughts in the comments section below. Let's jump right in. The first entry on the Smash blog for this week is the newly announced Echo Fighter for Ryu, Ken. Ken is still pretty fresh in all of our minds. His official reveal came last week in the Nintendo Direct. True to his Street Fighter origins, he functions pretty much exactly the same as Ryu, but he does distinguish himself with a few differentiating qualities. He's a little bit faster, his moveset might be a little bit more kick-centric, his throw has a nice little extra roll in there, and his Shoryuken has some sweet fire effects. Ken's reveal came along with the news that the Super Smash Bros. Base roster is complete. That obviously doesn't include the Piranha Plant DLC fighter or any of the 5 DLC fighters. Ken joins the list of 7 Echo Fighters, himself included, the others being Dark Samus, Daisy, Lucina, Dark Pit, Chrom, and Richter Belmont. If we take Nintendo at face value, that is the complete roster of Echo Fighters. But I'm a little bit suspicious myself. If I'm completely honest with you guys, I don't think we've seen the last of the Echo Fighters. We do know that none of the DLC characters released down the line will be Echo Fighters, but that's not to say that they won't include Echo Fighters. My mind goes immediately to Simon Belmont, who came fully equipped with Richter right out of the gate. So depending on who those final 5 fighters are, there might be a natural Echo Fighter whose inclusion is too good for Mr. Sakurai to resist. Also, there's nothing to say that Nintendo can't include other DLC outside of what's already been announced. And it would shock me if at some point during Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's lifespan, Octolings don't get added as an Echo Fighter for the Inklings. The next item on the Smash blog is an assist trophy for Springman. Springman is your quintessential ARMS character. ARMS is one of Nintendo's new competitive IPs. We knew we weren't going to get an ARMS character in the initial base roster because the ARMS creator said as much. It was just a little bit too early to fit those characters into the game, given the development schedule for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But we do got this great assist trophy, which features good old Springman doing his thing, using those extendable arms to punch, punch, punch. Emphasis on the punch. Springman's assist trophy raises the question, if a character is included in the base roster as an assist trophy, does that disclude them from candidacy to be one of the DLC characters down the line? Many would say yes, as there is no point in Smash Bros. History where a character has appeared both as an assist trophy and a playable character in the same game. There are examples of assist trophies being promoted to playable characters, such as Little Mac, and there are also examples of characters being included in the same game in different forms, such as Toon Link, who appears on the Spirit Tracks stage as well as being a playable character, and that's reconciled by replacing him with Alphonse on the Spirit Tracks train should Toon Link be one of the playable fighters in that particular battle. Knuckles is also a background element on one of the Sonic stages and an assist trophy. I'm not sure if it's possible for that assist trophy to appear on that stage, but I think we're overlooking one of the most obvious factors. One of the core components of Smash Bros. Is allowing the same character to appear on the same stage at the same time. And this goes all the way back to the first game. All 4 people playing could pick Mario, and suddenly we have 4 instances of Mario on the same stage at the same time. Fast forward to Smash 4 for Wii U, and then of course Ultimate, you can have 8 instances of the same character at the same time. Is it that horribly egregious to then add an assist trophy to the mix? I certainly don't think so. I bring this up because in last episode I talked about which characters I would most like to see as the 5 DLC characters, and many of you pointed out to me that most of them are already in the game as assist trophies. While I'm not saying Nintendo is going to upgrade an assist trophy that's already in the game to a playable character via DLC, I am of the opinion that a character being an assist trophy would not necessarily prevent Nintendo from making them a playable character if in fact they wanted to do so. They could either patch out the assist trophy or prevent that assist trophy from spawning if that same character was chosen to battle. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Our music sample for this week comes from Street Fighter, and it might be one of the most beloved video game songs of all time. We're looking at Guile's theme song. We got confirmation via the Direct last week that Guile would be included as an assist trophy, and he has this sweet song to complement it. All you young savvy internet ninjas probably came across the somewhat famous video game meme about Guile's theme song going with everything. All these different movie fight scenes, sequences from other video games, emotional television dramas. It honestly doesn't matter what it is. Guile's theme song goes with literally everything. Test it out for yourself. You can sample the song at smashbrothers.com under the Music tab. During last week's Direct, Nintendo introduced a new gameplay mode called Spirits. I talked about it briefly during last episode's Smash Ultimate Countdown, and at that point, I think the best way to describe my attitude towards Spirits was take it or leave it. It didn't bother me, obviously, that it was there, but I couldn't really imagine myself getting into it. As of this point, over 400 different spirits have been identified just from the Direct alone, and I have to say, I think I might be coming around on it. Any criticisms that I might have of Spirit Mode are not indicative of Spirit Mode, but more a reflection of myself and my taste as a gamer. I'm generally fairly turned off by RPG elements. The more confusing a game and its mechanics get, the less appeal it has to me personally. And Spirits looks like it cuts pretty deep. There's a lot of layers to this game, and simply put, I found it intimidating. But the more I reflect on it, the more excited I'm starting to get. While it sure would be awesome to have all 4 of the Breath of the Wild champions as playable characters in Smash Bros., I understand that it's not realistic to get all these characters into the game. But to be able to have them in some way power up Link and have a very tangible influence on his performance in battle, not only does that pay homage to Breath of the Wild and their direct impact on Link in that game, it also deepens the Smash Bros. Experience. I needed a little bit of distance, I think, from the initial announcement for some of it to really sink in. Obviously, I still maintain the position that I'm going to have to get some hands-on experience with it to know how much fun it is, or if it's just a tedious grind, but I'm happy to report that my personal perspective has changed from somewhat ambivalence to eager anticipation. This next bit of Smash news comes directly from Mr. Sakurai himself. He tweeted earlier in the week that the final 5 DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Have already been decided. Now this comes as a bit of a surprise to me, because only last week in the Smash Direct they said no development has begun. Now I come from the film world, where determining what the characters are would certainly be considered part of the development and pre-production process. So we can deduce at this point that what he meant was literal production. Nobody has began working on these characters, developing them in-game. But if that means that they're already decided, it means that anybody harassing Nintendo or Mr. Sakurai making their suggestions, trying to make their case for different characters, are really just blowing hot air, because at this point it cannot in any way influence what the final roster of Smash Bros. Is going to be. So the 2 important takeaways that I think Mr. Sakurai wanted to communicate to fans is that A, all 5 characters have already been determined. They were decided by Nintendo, with Mr. Sakurai weighing in on whether or not he felt that they could be conducive to playable status in Smash Bros. And then the second point, which he expressed in the most gracious way possible: enough. Stop already with the character suggestions. He obviously said it a lot more graciously than that. Basically, while expressing appreciation for everyone's passion, he made it clear that unsolicited feedback is not helping. This really got me thinking about how Smash Bros. Is in a class all its own where it comes to players having an individualized sense of ownership over the property. Nintendo's been such a big part of our lives for so long, and these characters mean so much to us that we all have our own unique experiences, relationships with the games and with the characters from those games, that in many ways I think we might feel like we're entitled to help determine what a Smash Bros. Roster should look like. Just like everybody, I of course have characters that I think would be amazing to play as. As I said last time, my favorite characters are all in the game. But for those of you who are big time fans of characters who have not found their way into Smash Bros. Yet, obviously there's nothing wrong with fantasizing about it, but the fact that it may never come to fruition is a reality that we have to face at some point. As long as there's DLC though, there's hope, right? The 5 DLC characters were decided by Nintendo, which is interesting to me, and I think it will definitely shape the type of character we get as DLC. Post-game DLC characters were first introduced in the last title of Smash. We know at least Bayonetta was influenced by fan voting. What led to the selection of some of the other characters is anyone's guess. But this time around, I think Nintendo's operating with a little bit more information and more of an agenda. More than ever, Nintendo is aware of the power of Smash Bros. As a marketing machine. So looking at it through that lens, I want to speculate with you on what 5 characters I think are most likely. I'm not laying these characters out in any particular order, and obviously I'm making an educated guess here, so not all of them are likely to be realized. I think chances are most, if not all of these, are going to be first-party Nintendo-controlled characters. And while Mr. Sakurai did specifically say Nintendo chose them, he also made the strong implication that he himself still has a strong influence over who actually gets in. With that consideration, I think the perfect meeting of the minds is Rex and Pyra. Mr. Sakurai himself gave this game glowing praise. Nintendo has really been making strides to propel Xenoblade into the mainstream. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 performed admirably, and it got a very well-received DLC pack. I don't think it's terribly unlikely to suspect that it might even get another DLC pack. As long as they're trying to keep this game alive, adding a Xenoblade character into Smash Bros. Is certainly a great way to keep him up front and center. Now, before you say, but he's already a Mii costume. So, In Smash Bros. 4, there's loads of examples of Mii Fighter costumes that are also playable characters. Link, Samus, Mario, Luigi, Peach, and there's certainly a precedent for Mii costumes being upgraded to playable characters like King K. Rool and Chrom. So if anything, that's a tick in Rex and Pyra's favor. I say Rex and Pyra because I think they'd probably have some sort of combo character mechanic, maybe akin to the Pokemon trainer. Now the next character is just as much of a shoo-in. I say character, but really I'm not prepared to offer that kind of specificity, but I can just about guarantee a representative, and that would be of Fire Emblem Three Houses. For two reasons. This would be a great way to cross-promote it, just like Nintendo did with Corrin and Smash Bros. 4, and Mr. Sakurai cannot help himself. If there is an opportunity to slip another Fire Emblem character into Smash Bros., he's gonna grab that bull by the horns. That man cannot get himself enough Fire Emblem. Now, whether it's gonna be the Avatar or one of the three main characters you interact with, Edelgard, Dimitri, or Claude, I can't speak to that. If really pressed to choose, I'd probably go with the Avatar because that's what they did with Robin and Corrin. But really, it could be anybody from that game. The point being, I'd be really shocked if we could get through all 5 of those DLC characters and none of them are a representative from a Fire Emblem game that's launching that same year. I'm also pretty confident about this next pick. Nintendo's got a list of amazing franchises as long as your arm. But what is the most popular franchise worldwide? You guessed it, Pokemon. And what game series is getting their first official mainline console release in the history of ever on Nintendo Switch next year? Oh, you guessed it, Pokemon. So my guess is one of those 5 DLC slots will be taken up by Nintendo Switch's new Pokemon title coming in 2019. And I'll do you one better. I think it's going to be a starter Pokemon, and I'd wager, unless for whatever reason this is a completely non-viable option, I think it's going to be the grass starter. We already have the Pokemon trainer with his own unique mechanic, which involves a fire, water, and grass starter in various evolution forms. And then we have the final evolution form for a water-type starter, Greninja, and with the recent announcement of Incineroar, we have a final evolution form for a fire-type. Still no final evolution form for a grass-type Pokemon. So the final evolution form of this Mystery Gen 8 grass-type Pokemon is my Poke pick for one of these 5 fighter spots. Looking at the list of big games Nintendo is expecting to launch in 2019, we get a look at another long-awaited installment in a storied franchise, involving a Nintendo character so popular he got his own year. Long living in the shadow of his brother, Luigi makes his way back into the mansion for Luigi's Mansion 3. Now, what could this possibly have to do with the 5 DLC fighters? You may have noticed some common threads with the newer characters Nintendo's added into Ultimate, as well as being on the bigger side like Ridley and King K. Rool. We also have a slightly more villainous slant. So who is both big and bad and present in Luigi's Mansion 3? Maybe. How about King Boo? Will my favorite racer from Mario Kart Double Dash make his way into Smash? I think Luigi's Mansion 3 might pave the way. Do you agree? And now for my final pick of who I think is most likely for Nintendo's final 5 DLC fighters, and I deliberately saved this one till last because it's the only one that I mentioned last week that I'd like to see in the game. She just also coincidentally happens to be one that I think has a really good shot, and that is Ribbon Girl. As a new IP, ARMS is doing rather well. Of course, it helps that it released at a time when there wasn't a whole lot of offerings available on the Switch yet, so the initial sales were somewhat amazing, and interest in the game, at least as far as I can tell, seems to have tapered off a bit. But Nintendo's really pushing this as an esports title, and they very bulldoggedly want it to succeed. Even now they're continuing to support it with updates, and what better way to keep it fresh than to put one of the main characters into Smash Bros. With Springman potentially tied up as an assist trophy, it pushes Ribbon Girl to the forefront. Not only amongst all her ARMS contemporaries is her jump most well suited to Smash Bros., but in my opinion at least, she strikes the perfect balance between being iconic, but yet also not being so terribly specific that she can't stand as the series' sole representative. I also want to mention the fact that Ribbon Girl already appears in Smash Bros. Ultimate in the form of a Mii costume. If anything, I think that's a sign that bodes in her favor. She's already on Nintendo's radar of being a standout character for the series. I've heard a lot of support from friends and other fellow Nintendo fans, hoping that Twintelle would be the Smash Bros. Representative, but let me tell you something. Twintelle would be the absolute worst ARMS representative in Smash Bros. And let me tell you why. She's the only character who doesn't use her arms. It's called ARMS. She uses her hair, which is awesome in ARMS. It sets her apart from some of the other characters. But if you're looking for somebody to literally be the poster figure for that game, you can't pick somebody who doesn't use their arms. Come on now. So Ribbon Girl it is. So those are my picks, and I want to remind you, this isn't a wish list. This isn't who I want to see. This is bearing all the evidence in mind and making an educated guess on who I think is most likely. So in light of those parameters, let me see your list in the comments section below. I know we all have our fantasy characters we want to see, but do you agree with my picks? Did I miss something pretty obvious? I can't wait to read those comments. Next on the Smash blog, we have another character overview, this time highlighting Olimar. Olimar hails from the Pikmin games that first got their start on the GameCube, as well as the follow-up title Pikmin 2, which, for my money, is the best in the series. The hallmark of Olimar's fighting style is really the Pikmin. Sure, he can throw some punches, but it's really what the Pikmin can do that counts. Well, I think the emphasis on the use of the Pikmins to attain victory as Olimar is central to his game, so I think it's really great that that's how he functions in Smash Bros. As well. But if I'm being completely honest, I find him to be one of the most difficult characters to use. It's hard for me to keep track of what Pikmin I'm on when I'm plucking from the ground, the order, and because all of the different Pikmin have different properties, I struggle to keep track of who does what, and it's difficult for me to adapt to a playstyle where I'm dependent on being able to get my way to a certain Pikmin to achieve the results that I want. And I'm really anxiously anticipating another Pikmin game. I bought the first one totally blind, and I fell in love. Although I will say the anxiety I felt probably took a few years off my life. The sequel, as I already said, is the best in the series. It doesn't offer the same kind of pressure, and in that way I think it's better, but in that same way I think it might also be a little bit less impactful once you subtract the ticking time bomb. The third one, sad to say, I found completely unplayable. Nintendo offered zero control options that made it possible. I found that really frustrating. I know it's a beloved game. We also got introduced to Alp, who you can use as an alternate skin for Olimar. If you did like Pikmin 3 and you got through that thing, let me know what your controller configuration was. I know a lot of people played it a lot of different ways. I just could not get around the fact that I didn't have the C-stick to be able to move my Pikmin en masse. I really had high hopes for Hey Pikmin. I think there's a lot of potential for Pikmin side-scrollers, although I actually found myself getting lost in that game a lot. I didn't really put some serious time into it. I bought it for my daughter. She'd ask for my help here and there, and I'd be poking around trying to figure out where those Pikmin were hiding. It was a little too Metroidvania, if you'll pardon the colloquial use of the term. But I wouldn't mind another stab at a side-scroller. Pikmin 4 has been ready forever. Shigeru Miyamoto announced publicly, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago that the game was finished, but still no word on it. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we got a Pikmin announcement sometime soon for the Switch. Well, while we wait, at least we get to play him in Smash Ultimate. The next item on the Smash blog is a somewhat unconventional assist trophy featuring Yuri Kozukata, the protagonist from Fatal Frame, Maiden of Blackwater. I remember there being a version of this game for the Wii U. At first glance I found it somewhat appealing, despite the fact that I'm not particularly drawn to horror thriller type games. The controls were reputed to be somewhat difficult, and that's one of the most off-putting features of a game for me, so I did sidestep it. But I gotta say, I'm all about what I'm seeing about her appearance in Smash Bros. She got a great feature in the most recent Smash Direct where we got to see her assist trophy in action. If she catches you in her camera obscura, you'll be momentarily paralyzed. It's an awesome callback to her own game where I believe she uses the camera to capture ghosts. Don't forget to smile for the camera. And the final spot in the Smash blog for this week goes to a third entry for spirits. This time, Nintendo calls attention to the fact that there are two different kinds of spirits, primary spirits and support spirits. Primary spirits can be used to boost the physical abilities of your character, whatever that means. Maybe it can make them move a little bit faster or jump a little higher. Maybe give them less knockback. I'm not really clear on this, to be altogether honest with you. And support spirits provide special skills. And apparently, depending on the combination of these spirits, you can achieve all manner of different results. I predict a lot of experimentation in my future. And that wraps up another episode of Smash Ultimate Countdown. As always, thank you for joining me. I hope these blog breakdowns and news explications are getting you excited. Not so very long ago, it felt like the game was forever away, and now it's right around the corner. Anyone who's made it this far, you've given me the opportunity to speak my piece. I respect and appreciate your investment of time, but I also really appreciate your opinion and perspective. So I can't stress enough how excited I am to read your comments in the comment section below. If you joined me in the chat, hi! Hi everybody. It's pretty fun doing these as live premieres. That's just about enough of me for one day. Hope to see you all back here real soon. Thanks for playing.